Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm back, and we're going to start today talking about The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynn. So, let's get right into it. So, I read Malice first, of course. Let's go over the numbers real quick with Malice. So this was published in December 6th in actually 2012. So we're talking almost 10 years ago. It's got 672 pages in this book. I finished reading it January 31st, day after my birthday of this year, 2022. And I loved it. I gave it a 5-star rating. Now, usually when I rate books, I just do a real quick rating. Basically, if I read it and it was decent, I give it a 3. If I really liked it, I'll give it a 4 stars. And it's really got to be awesome for me to give it a 5. I don't give a lot of books 5s. If I really didn't like the book that much, I'll give it a 2. And if I hated the book, I'll give it a 1. I don't give away a lot of 1s. So that's pretty much my scale. No in between numbers like 3.6 or anything like that. Just regular 1 through 5 stars. This book, Malice, I gave 5 stars. Now, 6 months later, I don't know if I'll quite give it a 5-star today. What happened was I had just gotten done reading The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, and I really didn't like that book. So, everyone was talking about how great that series was and this new grim dark type of fantasy writers, but I just didn't like it, and I wanted something new in the fantasy realm, of course, that hopefully I would like. And then the other books that people were talking about a lot, of course, on BookTube, are these John Gwynn books, The Faithful and the Fallen, specifically at the time when I started reading these. So I said, you know what, let me try it. Another newer fantasy novelist, for me anyways. I hadn't read any of John Gwynn's stuff. This is his first novel, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Like I said, I may go a little bit less now, but really, I did. I loved it. Why did I love it, though? I may have loved it because I just got done with The Blade Itself, and I really didn't dig it. This was more, of your classic fantasy style story. A little bit slower in the build, introducing the characters, which I really liked. I had some investment in the characters. Of course, none at the time in The Blade Itself. So I was just so happy to be reading, something new, something that I hadn't, read before, really looked into a lot, but it was classic fantasy. There are some things I didn't like about it. Like I said, there's characters in here, just the names that, if you look at how they're spelled, uniquely, kind of, but when you say them, they're very similar. Cuin, Carolyn, Corbin, just things like that. Braith, Wraith, Rin, Bryn. There's a lot of names that are very similar, but that was really one of my only problems with this book. It was a little slow, but again, I didn't mind that. It was a slow build. So I read one, boom, gave it 5 stars. Loved it. Went on to Valor. So Valor was published July 22nd, 2014. So 2 years after Malice, Valor comes out. It's got 680 pages, and I finished reading it on March 7th of this year, 2022, and I gave it 3 stars. I didn't like this book nearly as much as I liked Malice. What's wrong with this book? Well, I don't know. I don't know if the publisher, I mentioned this in another video, sat down and said, well, Grimdark's really cool now. Maybe you got to make it a little bit more dark, something like that. Maybe he just wanted to prove his chops in writing, battle scenes and things like that, because probably at least 60 or more % of this book seems to be a battle scene. Battle scene after battle scene after battle scene after battle scene. It kind of wore me out. Some of the pet peeves I had with it, not only just that it was constant fighting and constant battles, was some of the choreography in the battle scenes I didn't like. He uses similar descriptions over and over again, which I didn't like. And it didn't really move this story along for me at all. Oh, but I was thinking, well, sophomore novel, right? And it seemed to me that maybe he was pushed into writing this type of novel. But it just came off to me as being too much, too unrealistic. The fighting. Now I understand it. It's a fantasy world. Maybe these people are superhumans, superhuman strength or something. But I like to see some humanity in it. I mean, I do, as I've mentioned before, I do sword fight. I do reenacting, and I used to be a bouncer for years. And real fights just don't last that long. They're very quick. They take a lot of energy. They wear you out. And it doesn't feel good to get punched in the face. You don't get punched in the face and then just, come back swinging 100%. You don't get a cut from a sword hack and then I don't know, unless your adrenaline's crazy. I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more realism, I guess, in this book. I just didn't like it. But I liked it enough to give it a 3. I didn't want to go, say, wow, I really didn't like that book and give it a 2. So it was enjoyable enough. And it moved the story along just enough. So enough for me at least to go on to Ruin. So what we have with Ruin. Ruin was published, again, July 16th, but 2015. That's only a year later after Valor. And there's 768 pages in this book. It's the most voluminous book in the series of 4. And I finished reading this on June 17th of this year, 2022. I gave this one 4 stars. So, what happened with this book that elevated it at least above Valor? Well, more of the story, more of the plot thickening, more of moving forward, more even, it slowed down a little bit. I got a little bit more vested again, reinvested in some of the characters. Still, I gotta tell you, what didn't I like about this story? It started to become a little bit formulaic, a little bit like I knew it was going to happen. The fighting wasn't as much as in Valor. There was plenty of it. Some of it cool, some of it, again, not. He started doing this thing where every time somebody swung a sword or a battle axe or a hammer and it missed by a hand's width. Now I know I'm being very picky with this, but it got to the point where when he said someone missed, I went by a hand's width, and that's what I said, by a hand's width, by hand's width. And then one time, about halfway through the book, I went by a hand's width, and he wrote by a finger's width. So then for the next couple chapters, every miss was a finger's width. But then he went back to a hand's width again, and it carried it on through the rest of the series. But it really started getting predictable. But why really did I give it a 4? because the last 150 pages were freaking awesome. The story was really coming together, and he did that thing that a lot of good authors do in a series, is make you want to read that next book. If you read Ruin, a lot of people love Ruin, a lot of people love Valor. I mean, that's fine, but a lot of people really love this book, and I liked it more than Valor. Still not as much as Malice. Now I'm trying to think, well, this is his third book in the series, and I'm kind of thinking, wow, it's really getting to the point where I know where it's going. There's a storyline in here, though. Mackian, is it that how you say his name? Mackian, and Fidelay. Oh, the worst chapters of this whole series. I'm sorry. Maybe some of you loved that little love interest there, but she was horrible. She was so bad to me, it wasn't even realistic. It got to the point where she was putting McKean in so many difficult situations, and he would just go and do it because he was falling in love with her, and she was so beautiful, but she was an idiot. She kept wanting to go and see her son Nefer, even though he was evil and bad. He threw her in a dungeon. I mean, oh, there's so many. I got to the point where I just wanted her dead. Please, please kill her. There came a point where this was going to quite possibly happen. And McKean was there. He could have killed Lycos. He could have taken him out. He's been hunting him down. It comes to this, scene where, yeah, nope. That bitch. I hated her. I hated their relationship. It ruined McKean. I liked McKean earlier and his whole deal with fighting in the pits and everything. I thought he was cool, but then when he got with her, oh my gosh, it was horrible. Oh, shit. So, but, yeah, the last 150 pages of this book were so freaking awesome. I had to immediately go and pick up the fourth book, Wrath. All right, Wrath. Wrath was published November 17th, 2016. So just another year after that. So he's starting to get his writing chops in, I believe. I think I read where he said it took him like 14 years or something to write the first novel. But now he's getting faster, he's getting better. The writing is better, but it's still, it's too formulaic. It really is. There's 720 pages in this book, and I just finished this book June 28th. Now, I did give it 4 stars. Why? Because again, it was better than just my average, my usual, yeah, that was entertaining. It was better than that overall. I'm gonna say it is. I'm not gonna slam the book too much. I've seen and read a lot of people who put this series as their #1 series of all time, or in their top 10. And then I see people that really did not like these books at all. I'm gonna put it, right around, well, if you do an average 5, 3, 4, and 4, then I basically rated this whole series as a 4. But is it going to be on my top 10 fantasy series of all time that I've read? I don't know. I mean, maybe 10, right? I'm going to have to go and look and think about this some more before I do that video. But it may not. It was good. Yes, I liked it. But again, super, like, you could you didn't have to write. I don't want to say that. Okay, this could have been easily 3 books. Easily. The total number of pages for these 4 books, 2,840 pages. And there's a lot of crap in these books. Just rehashing, you know, there are problems, like I said, with the near misses. There's always a near miss. Why is Rafe still around towards the end of this book? Should have been killed off long ago, but somehow he always gets away. And then when most people would let their sovereign down, the queen or king in this world, they get killed, Rafe gets by every time. Every time he doesn't fulfill what the task he's supposed to do, and he comes skulking back to Queen Rin. She forgives him. He drinks from the cup, which is one of the 7. I don't want to give it all away, but they got to try to gather these 7 things: a spear, a cup, thing. You've read these stories before. Again, just the same kind of a rehash of any other fantasy novel you've read before. But the writing is better overall by the time they get to this book, even though you know what's going to happen. I just didn't like some of the crap where, you know how it is, somebody should be killed, they don't get killed. Somebody holds a sword, stands over them with a sword, but they wait, or they start talking, or whatever. Especially McKean and Lycos, oh my god. Or Corbin and the Giants, and they're waiting until all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a little girl throws a rock and hits you in the face, and you don't kill the guy, and then he gets up and kills you. Mysteriously, a sword happens to appear in his hand. Happened way too often with this book. Way too often. But still, overall, an enjoyable book. So, really, I'm sorry. It sounds like I didn't like it. I did. I liked it just fine. I liked it above average. But I'm not gushing over it. I can't wait, though, to read his new series. He's got the 2 books out now. I can't remember their names. Everyone's talking about how good, that they're even better than these. I don't really hear a lot of people talking about the second trilogy, in the Banished Lands very much. And I have no interest of reading them right now. But I do have read, I do want to read this new trilogy that he's doing. But so do I suggest that you read it? Yeah, I mean, it's cool, it's fun, it's long, it's drug out, but it's interesting as hell. If people love animal companions in these types of fantasy stories, I mean, they're great. Shield and Storm and Budai and the puppies. The dregs are cool as hell. When they go through the dregs poop field, yeah, it's pretty cool. When they fight the drag, that's actually pretty cool. Except again, a main character gets flung against a tree and breaks every bone in his body, but he's fine. In a couple minutes. Things like that just drive me crazy. I mean, important characters do die in this book, but man, some of them should have died a lot sooner, or a lot. Those that didn't die should have died. You know how it is in these books. I don't know how people live through some of these things. But anyways, I'm digressing. Yeah. Do I suggest reading the book? Absolutely. Read the books. I think John Gwynn is going to be one of the writers that people talk about more and more in the fantasy realm. But I don't know if it's going to be on my top 10 series of all time. I'm gonna actually do another video because my friend, a fellow YouTuber, Kim, on the Paper Traveler channel, has done a book tag, and I've never done a book tag. So, you know, I've been doing BookTube now for 6 months. I've started my first read along with Moyd and the Expanse series, and now I guess I'm going to do my first book tag video from the Paper Traveler. So I'm going to be doing that next, so I'm going to have 3 videos out this week. Imagine that. All right, so I think that's about it for this. I wanted to just go through it real quick. There's tons of videos out there. There's tons of people that have reviewed these books and written about them one way or another. Read it all, watch it all, have fun, and I'll see you later. Peace out.